Chapter 1. Your job will make a lot of demands on your skills and values, and people depend on you to always come through. First of all, you need to understand that it's not going to be an easy ride. Times have changed, and there are now lots of new concepts and phenomena to get used to. You need to be flexible enough to adapt to the new things and disciplined enough to stand by the values that will keep you winning. As hard as you work, it isn't enough to guarantee your success. Your success is the cumulative success of the people that you lead, and this is the major challenge. It might seem impossible to get people to do the right things and be their best at work, but it is possible, especially when you're determined to give your best to making this happen. Having first read this book in 1995, Ben Horowitz, author of The Hard Thing About Hard Things, declared it to be a masterpiece that is worth even more than anyone bargained for. He also emphasizes how easy it is to understand the lessons in it, as they are well articulated, and that it will help you embrace new management ideas and relate to the already existing ones that have been upgraded. He insists that this book will come through even in the hardest situations you will face as a manager, and will help you find solutions to the most complex dilemmas. You really can do amazing in your career. Your team can listen to you, and you can motivate them to do even more than they are currently. This is not just a dream. Find out how in the subsequent pages of this tidbit. Chapter 2. The regular checks and balances are what keep your business alive. If you had to serve eggs, toast, and coffee to a customer, the three components would need to reach the customer at the same time. This requires you to apply basic steps of production in order to create and deliver products that the customer wants at a scheduled time, at an acceptable quality, and lowest possible cost. Since conditions are not always ideal for production, you have the responsibility of delivering a product at the time agreed upon while making the best profit out of the bargain. Conditions will hardly ever be ideal. Make your move regardless. It is important that you have a good understanding of the production flow and take note of the step that determines how the whole operation goes. You do this by identifying the product that takes more time or effort. As in the case of serving breakfast, it is the eggs. So you need to plan the entire job around the time it takes to get the egg ready, because this critical step determines it all. Your production flow starts with the most difficult step and moves to the easiest. During production, three major operations exist. They are process manufacturing. This step changes the physical state of the raw material. Example, from raw to boiled egg. Assembly. This step puts different products together to form a new entity. Test. The new entity is subjected to a test of its characteristics. These steps can be applied to other forms of work no matter the activities involved. Even while carefully trying to do this, there is always a probability of complications arising. You would need to adjust your production flow to accommodate these complications. There is no strict rule. Adjust your methods to suit any changes. A major complication can arise when you have to do two or more important tasks at the same time. In this case, you can hire more help or turn staff into specialists so they can handle different fields independently. These moves will cost you money and other resources that might not even be available to you at the time, and depending on others, could make the job less predictable since you don't have full control over the steps. Your duty as a manager is to find the most cost-effective way to allocate your resources while maximizing profits. You will be able to do this by having a clear understanding of all the factors involved and weighing all your options against each other. Your job is to find the best way to execute a plan. As a manager, you also have to check the quality of produced goods regularly, the equipment, goods that are delivered, and the raw materials available to you. These steps are important since the goods become valuable as they move down the production process. It is important that problems are detected at an early stage to prevent wastage. Carefully monitor every step of production. It will prevent wastage. Chapter 3. Your aim should be to increase productivity by doing the important things first. The more people like your services, the more your business expands. As a manager, this means you have more staff and equipment in your care. You need a set of good indicators or measurements that inform you of changes or a difference in the normal mode of operation. Still using the breakfast company as an example, you should have the sales forecast of the day, inventory, and equipment indicator handy. A good indicator will cover the output rather than an activity and measure something that is physical. Your system has to be able to stand the competition as well as provide adequate customer satisfaction. Find a faster way to do the best and you will find your productivity increasing. The trick is to work smarter, not harder. The output generated by a type of work activity is the leverage it has over the other activities, and the goal should be to constantly raise this bar. There are two major ways to improve leverage. They are automation. This involves the use of machinery in production. This makes work faster and more efficient. Work simplification. This step involves creating a detailed chart that shows the production flow and lists all the steps involved. Not every step is necessary. Cut down the excess. In every production process, note that it is not the number of activities that the employees perform that indicate success. Rather, the output from each carefully thought-out activity. Chapter 4. Your success as a manager is measured by the output of your team. A manager's job is never really done. There's always a task, something that requires attention. Your output is not just the things you do. It's the sum of the output of the organization and the output of the neighboring organizations or teams under your influence. It isn't just enough for you to do well. Your team should too. It is necessary that you get information from your team regularly, as this will influence your ability to make decisions. Although you can't do this if you don't carefully observe your environment to find out what is actually going on. Your lines of communication have to always be open so your team can tell you the things that bother them while you collectively seek a solution. Your team should be able to get through to you. You should be careful not to meddle when you assign a task to your employee by using your superior knowledge to command the situation. Rather, delegate duties to the members of your team while ensuring you follow through, because you're still responsible for its success. With all the things you have to do, 24 hours might not seem enough time in a day to successfully accomplish them. But time management is an important skill that you have to acquire. By identifying the most difficult step and planning around it, merging similar tasks, and refusing to take on responsibilities you know you can't take on, you're helping yourself build an effective management routine. Your subordinates look to you for direction and are ready to model whatever behavior they see you exhibit. They will also constantly badger you with questions and interrupt your workflow. But you should create a structure to help you deal with these interruptions while still giving them the attention they need. Be careful not to pass the wrong message to your team. Chapter 5. Having meetings the wrong way will not only waste everyone's time, it will also destroy ideas. Often, meetings take more time than is stated in the memo and may even result in a disagreement or a major dispute. But they are a necessary component of any organization because they're a medium for supplying information. Meetings are a good way to exchange information. There are two basic types of meetings. Process-oriented meetings. These are meetings held regularly to share knowledge and exchange information. Mission-oriented meetings. These are held once in a while to solve a particular problem. Both types of meetings are necessary for growth and proper management of tasks. The problem arises when a lot of time is spent in mission-oriented meetings. This means there are a lot of impromptu problems with no solutions, which is a sign of an even deeper problem in the organization. Constantly trying to solve a lot of problems is a problem. Chapter 6. The difference between success and failure can be the quality of your decisions. You make decisions every day ranging from important to trivial. Your decisions can be separated into two. Forward-looking decisions that influence future undertakings. Decisions that are made in the face of a problem. Your ability to make the right decision is based on your understanding of the problem, and this is why it's important that you gather enough information. Any ideal decision-making model is one that allows free discussion from your team, listening to everyone's point of view and disagreements while making the decisions you have to make clear. Every team member needs to be heard. Everyone is obliged as staff of the organization to give their full support to the decision made, even when they don't completely agree with it. This model might be difficult to implement because emotions may be involved while opinions are being aired. Your organization has to be one that encourages employees to speak their mind without fear of sounding dumb or being overruled. Oftentimes, there's the urge to push decisions to the fore so that others can embrace it, but you'll be depriving yourself of a fresh view of the whole situation. Before finally endorsing a decision, ask yourself when the decision has to be made. Who will make the decision? Who will need to be consulted before making the decision? Who will need to veto a decision? And who will need to be informed of the decision? If you have to make a shocking decision, do not just walk away from it. Choose a later time to extensively talk about it and give people time to recover from it while asking them for their opinions. It is never a good idea to leave your team confused. Chapter 7. It is important that you are always one step ahead. You have to think about the future. An organization without a plan for the future is just a ticking bomb. Planning can be better understood by making a forecast based on the demand for a particular product and building in that direction. Have a plan for every step of the way. It is important that a lot of thinking be done while projecting for the future. Also, the present condition of the company has to be considered. Carry out a study of the environment while considering expectations from customers and balance them. If the company can deliver now, it is an indication that you'll likely deliver in the future. It will be unwise to make plans when there are no available resources to carry them out. Compare capabilities and ongoing projects, then decide which ones need to be scrapped or let go. This will help you clear the path for the new projects and make way for the things you need to do to get them done. Know when to let projects go. Chapter 8. You are the one piece that holds all the other pieces of the puzzle together. Your team is your biggest asset in your business. They determine how successful a goal is because they have to work together. As a manager, you are a part of a larger organization, and you're responsible for creating a balance between the management and team members. A lot of hybrid organizations and teams will be formed in the process of getting tasks done, and their success depends on your ability to make the necessary switch from a member of the management to a team member. When dual units work together, it is almost impossible for you to ensure that a problem in one team doesn't affect the other, but it is possible. It requires a surrender of individual decisions to the group, and this means that every team trusts its members to make the best decision. The organization's culture has to be one that allows independence as well as coordination. Resources also have to be properly allocated to ensure that projects go as planned. Your organization's culture determines your team's response. Chapter 9. Every organization needs rules. Your job is to ensure that everyone sticks to them. Everyone exhibits a different behavior at work, and this can be controlled by free market choices. This takes into consideration the value for which goods and services are exchanged. Contractual obligations. Transactions are governed by the free market forces, but value is not easily defined, so a contract is needed to define standards. Cultural values. The environment changes all the time, and culture values are needed as a foundation since the team relies on each member. As a manager, you set and modify the rules for evaluation as well as spell out values and objectives of the organization while also leading by example. You set the rules. You should also play by them. At every point, it is important to find the most appropriate mode of control for everyone concerned by considering the nature of your employees' motivation as well as the environment. Chapter 10. Everyone on your team is an important player, but you need to show them. So long as each member of your team continually offers their best, there will be a lot of progress. When you find out an employee isn't doing their job, it could be because they are not motivated to, or they're not capable of doing it. You need to find out what the problem is exactly. You can do this by asking a question. If the person's life depended on doing that task, would they do it? If the answer is yes, it means the employee is not motivated to work. But if they say no, the employee is not capable. You have to find the problem and find a way to fix it. Your job as a manager is to elicit the highest possible performance from your team through training and motivation. Motivation is not something that you can give your team members. It has to come from within them. What you can do, though, is to create an environment that encourages them to bloom. Needs motivate us to work, and if they are all satisfied, we lose motivation. If a person wanted more money and found a job, when they have enough money, money ceases to be the motivation to work. In the past, when an employee doesn't perform up to expectations, the management style was to fire them. But now, varying styles are used to ensure that everyone's skills are maximized. Changes in the environment or condition of life can change a person's needs. Your duty as a manager is to take note of these changes and ensure your employees stay motivated in spite of them. A good way to motivate them is to give regular reviews. Steady reviews keep your team on their toes. Performance reviews are very important for the growth of an employee because they provide feedback and informs them of what they can do better to maximize their efficiency. But these reviews have to be given carefully and with much thought because a bad review delivery can cause even more harm. A review determines what skills are missing and provides a remedy while ensuring they stay motivated enough to continue working. There is no foolproof way to determine performance, but a good way to ensure that you do this unbiased is to clarify in your mind what you expect and judge based on this. While delivering a performance review, be frank with them while listening intently to their own side of the story. Keep in mind that you don't want to be influenced by emotions. Listen carefully to what your team members say. Performance reviews can either have both positive and negative aspects, or you can outrightly call the offender out. The truth remains that nobody is perfect, and everyone's performance needs to be reviewed regularly. Chapter 11. Your managerial skills will be put to test every day, some days more than others. Some days, you will have to do tasks that are more difficult than others. The two most difficult tasks you might have to do are interviewing a potential employee, trying to talk a valued employee out of quitting. At an interview, you have to select a performer, educate him, and determine if he's a good fit within a very short time. This can be rather daunting. It is important that you take time to assess past performance and references, but these can be filled with a lot of false information. So let the applicant do most of the talking while you control the interview. Ask hypothetical questions and allow them to ask you questions. By doing this, you gain an understanding of the applicant's knowledge and how they applied it in their former places of work. This will help you make a judgment of their potential. You may end up being wrong about the applicant, even after trying your hardest to give the best judgment. Therefore, bear in mind that this process is not perfect. It just gives you a higher chance of selecting a good candidate. There is no perfect interview process. You can only try your best. People leave organizations and even get fired. It becomes a problem when a valued employee decides to quit because he feels he's not appreciated. This just means you have not done your job properly as a manager. You need to be careful in handling this situation. But always convey through your actions and words that you value them. Let him or her talk to you while you actively listen. Do not argue and do not try to change their mind. Schedule another meeting where you try to sell a better offer to them. This might mean transferring him or her to another department or even giving them a raise. This is a way to show that the employee is appreciated. Promotions and bonuses are important because they ensure that the employee strives to stay at the top of their game. If he or she remains in one position, they might not be motivated to do better or even improve their skills, and this might lead to them getting tired of the job. Try your best to find out what it is he or she is not comfortable with and ensure you find a way to get it fixed. Others might just be watching to see what you do, and this determines how motivated they feel. A valued employee is a plus to the organization. Chapter 12. It is your job to constantly train your employees so they can get even better. There can be a lot of disasters if an employee is not properly trained, because even when they don't mean any harm, their lack of knowledge in a particular area might result in inefficiencies, excess costs, and dangerous situations. Training should not be left to specialists or experts alone, but should also extend to low-level staff. Training your staff yourself is very important because you are a role model to them. What they see you do, they practice. Therefore, you should always do the right things. Your employees will imitate your actions. Make a list of the things they need to know. Ask for their input and match these with the available materials. Create an outline of the things you want them to learn, as this makes it clearer. Don't be discouraged if it seems like a lot of work or your employees are not learning fast. Give it time. You will also benefit from the process as you improve on your own knowledge and feel a sense of accomplishment. Learning takes time. Be patient. Conclusion. You are responsible for a lot in your organization, but you are no quitter. You can get it done. At this point, it is safe to say that you really want an improvement in your job as a manager. This in itself is a great indicator of how determined you are to make things work. If you've been doubting your abilities, think again. You've got all it takes to successfully manage your team and everything else it is that you do at work. Try this. Take your time to review your employees' performance. Find out who deserves a raise or a transfer to another department, and reward everyone accordingly.